Hello and welcome to another episode of 2 Minutes with Tim here on Heavenward Thinking. Today we're looking at James chapter 4 verses 11 through 12, so I'll read it and we'll get right into this week's challenge. Brothers and sisters, do not slander one another. Anyone who speaks against a brother or sister judges them speaks against the law and judges it. When you judge the law, you are not keeping it, but sitting in judgment on it. There is only one lawgiver and judge, the one who is able to save and destroy. But you, who are you to judge your neighbor? As we look at these verses, we're reminded of what we've been looking at for the past few weeks here in 2 Minutes with Tim, as we've been going throughout James chapter 4, looking at how we are supposed to live our lives, how we're supposed to be submissive, how we're supposed to be humble, how we're supposed to draw near to God continually. Here we look at not just our relationship with God, but our relationship with other people, with each other. And we see that we are not to slander each other, and we're not to speak evil against one another. We're not to judge one another, and we're reminded that we are not the judge, that there's only one lawgiver and one judge. That's God. We are not. And again, we've seen in multiple different verses here in this chapter reminding us that we are not God. We need to give control of our lives over to Him. We need to submit to God and not try to take the place of God. And that comes into a huge issue when we look at our relationships with one another. When we have relationships with people, we often want to play the role of God by slandering them, by speaking evil against them, and by judging them. But we are not qualified to do that because there's only, as James says here, there's only one lawgiver and judge. So we shouldn't play the role of God. We need to instead let God be God and be submissive to God. And then that's going to it's going to play a huge role in our relationships with one another. If we don't take the place of God, and we allow Him to be God, and we just focus on what we need to focus on, which is namely our own lives and our own faith and our own application, then we're going to not have so many of the difficulties and the troubles that come in relationships when we try to play the role of God and judge other people and not focus on taking care of our own problems first. Again, James here in chapter 4, he's showing us that we need to be submissive and we need to not be prideful and to not think that we're better than other people. We need to realize that each of us are sinners and that we need God ourselves. And then that stops us from playing the role of God and being a judge against another person. I hope that you've been challenged by this and that you'll join us next time for another episode of 2 Minutes with Tim here on Heavenward Thinking.